Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
We all know how hard this is physically. People who will be like adamant, oh, I've done physical labor jobs before. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I would have a lot of nickels.
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMade. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Pipkin, and with us today is the lovely Maria Dorian. And Maria is one of my dear friends that I got to meet in person over in Amsterdam this summer, which was super duper fun, and got to learn about her story, her businesses, and she is quite the amazing entrepreneur. And I can't wait for you guys to hear her story and to learn from her. So Maria, thank you for joining me, first of all.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
And yes, of course. Let's start from the beginning when you were born. Start there and just go. Just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Tell me about where your origin story of your cleaning business came from, because it's really like a pretty amazing story, and it feels very meant to be that you were supposed to be in the cleaning industry.
So one day, my baby was a newborn, and in the middle of a church service, I actually had to go do a middle of a church service diaper change. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm like changing the diaper, and there was a group of women behind me, and they were just chit-chatting. And one of them said, I clean houses for a living. And I'm like, the skies opened up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And at the time I was working at a restaurant, and I remember telling my husband, like, the weirdest thing happened, but I just got this feeling that I'm supposed to be cleaning houses. I had no experience cleaning houses. I've never done it. So when I told my manager at the restaurant, hey, I don't think I'm going to come back. I think I want to start cleaning houses. She said, well, great. I'll be your first client, because I have a cleaning lady who I've been wanting to fire anyways. And so do you want to clean my house? So perfect. And that kind of started everything. And really, it just kind of grew and took off from there. Fast forward 14 years later, found myself with a staff of, roughly, I think we sold at 36.
Wow.
Yeah, 320 something clients. And yeah, it just grew into a thing. And then I ended up selling it and moving abroad. So that is my story from that point.
So were you guys all residential, or what was your split like?
Yeah, mostly residential. We did a handful of commercials, some overnight, some churches, small offices. But I would say the split was easily 95 to 5% commercial. We liked our residential.
Yeah, that's really amazing, because that's something that, and remind me, Maria, what town was your business in?
Austin, Texas.
Okay, so larger population, because I was thinking our area, I'm like, there's no way we could get to those numbers with just residential. So that's a perfect testament to it can be done. It just simply is very location dependent. And I think that people don't like to take that into account, or think that maybe that's an excuse. It's just like, you gotta look at your area. You gotta look at the population. It's just like trying to have 100% vacation rental in a place that nobody wants to vacation. It doesn't make sense. So you have to look at your location and really say what does make sense for us, as well as the lifestyle that you wanna embody. So can you tell me what it was like in your cleaning business when it came to early on? It sounds like you probably, very much just knowing your brain, excelled at putting systems into place and processes into place. So how did that evolve kind of from day one, and seeing yourself as somebody who's going to be out of the field? And when did you bring in others to help with the administrative side of things?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I started with just having help, right? So bringing in help, bringing in cleaning help, and then eventually grew to having an office manager. So when I had my first office manager, I had zero experience. And at the time, I was not techie at all whatsoever, like could barely turn on the computer. And I was very lucky because she's like, that's my jam. I will not only do it, I'm going to teach you how to do it. And she did. So I was super grateful there. And then, I kept one thing I feel was a challenge at the very beginning was separating Maria, who's cleaning houses, this is her job, to making that mental transition to Maria, this is your business, and your new job is to be a business owner, to run the business. And as you know, that takes systems. Of course, systems are super important. You cannot grow and scale without a system. And so one thing that really helped me was just having the mindset of, okay, I keep sending the same email. It's as simple as I keep sending the same email over and over. Fine, make that into a template, automate it.
Yep.
Great. Super. It starts there. But the other thing, bigger picture, and I still do this to this day, is when anything happens in the business, my mindset is immediately, okay, what system or process do I need to set up to make sure that this never happens in my business again? And so when I started thinking like that, I started thinking outside of just, Maria just kind of going with the flow and doing things willy-nilly to, okay, so if I want to prevent this problem from ever in the life of my company happening again, what rules do I need to put in place? Who do I need to get what systems do I need to place? What procedures? Who do I need to get to run those procedures? And will it work? Great. It might work right now for my staff of 6, but what if we have 46? Yeah. Will it work for a team of 46? If it doesn't, keep going back to the system until it's so perfected and all the bottlenecks are worked out and all the kinks are worked out to where it will work for a staff of 46. So having that mindset to this day helps me, because then you're thinking about all the intricate little pieces to make a very successful system and process.
And that's such a wonderful actionable tip for you guys that are listening of, if the thing is not going to work, if you were to triple your business or add 20 cleaners right now, then it needs to keep being tinkered with and adjusted until it is. And it's never, as I say about systems and processes, it's a living entity. It changes as things evolve. So don't feel the pressure of this thing has to be perfect, but you just keep tweaking it. Like literally, I just this morning, or all day really, I've been in a 5-hour meeting with my management team, and we have been hammering out our kind of new compensation schedule and plan that we never have. And this has been a long time coming, and we're, almost 6 years in now, and we've never hammered this out. And it's like, this is going to solve so many problems, and we're really excited about it. But keep that in mind of I think probably when a lot of our listeners are hearing, a Maria or any of our other guests, they're like, oh, I'm never going to get to that level. And it's it's literally taking an hour here, an hour there. It's not going from a 0 to 100. It's, the whole, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so today we took a big, giant bite out of an elephant, and it's going to be amazing when we serve it on a platter to our cleaners later. So, don't have all that pressure on yourself to get it done all at once.
And, I hear a lot from business owners, especially up and coming companies, that say, I don't have SOPs. I don't have, it's all in my head. I don't have anything written down. Well, let me tell you, like you said, taking it one bite at a time, start with one piece of paper. Just write down, how do I answer phones? What is my opening greeting? That's it. Start with, that is page 1 of your SOP. Seriously, that simple. And then you just build on. And it, even for cleaner SOPs, doesn't all mean that you have to do it on your own. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about the VA company and how I leverage virtual assistants a little bit later on, but it's as simple as, okay, how to clean a bathroom. That doesn't mean that me, Maria, the business owner, has to sit there with a legal pad and write down, or a computer. Literally, hey, cleaner. next time you clean a bathroom, can you write down all the steps for me, text it? That's another page in the SOP.
Yeah, utilizing your cleaners, and as long as you're paying them, guys, like a lot of times they love being asked, and it feels like a form of respect that you respect their abilities and their intelligence enough to ask for their opinion or their input. And honestly, every time we've kind of asked our cleaners to add responsibility, again, as long as it correlates with being paid appropriately or for their time, they take more accountability and they take more ownership in their day-to-day lives. So don't be afraid to do that. And if every time they seem to dig their heels in or they want to do like the bare minimum, is that a good choice of a team member, or are you being unreasonable considering your pay grade? Because it really is interesting when I'm talking to different owners. The pay is so wildly all over the place, and like that is, you know, our industry does have a wide range of wages, but sometimes I see like ridiculously high where you're not making a profit, or still way too low, like even before COVID times too low. Like, so do you have any, I'd love to hear your thoughts on pay and how do you handle that? How has that evolved over time? You were in business for a long time. So how did that evolve?
Yeah, so pay is kind of tricky because a lot of business owners think, okay, my people won't work for less than X amount. And that's not always true, because people have needs. They have needs outside of pay. So what we've done, I think probably one of the things that I really did well, both at Welcome Home and now with the other businesses and projects that I do, is develop a rock solid company culture that speaks and fills the needs and desires from people on a human level. And that's even outside of pay, believe it or not. Pay is not the number one thing. And so like when you were talking about, you know, asking cleaners to pitch in and help with projects, well, first of all, you've got buy-in. Second of all, like you said, it makes them feel good that they are now part of something bigger. They are actually part of a story in the making, and that motivates people, and it keeps them happy, and it keeps them loyal, which I can go on forever on the loyalty thing, but it just builds a really good company culture. So yes, you have to pay your people, but do you have to pay them above everybody in your market? Absolutely not. And I've seen that firsthand with a company that once they sold, the business owner said, oh my gosh, like these people are getting paid so low, there's no way. So they upped their hourly pay. I think it was like good $3-4 an hour, like a substantial raise. Yeah, by a year that company was gone because the new business owners came in and said, these people aren't getting the cleaners. We're not getting paid enough. Let's up everybody's wage. That's going to make them happy. That's going to make them loyal. It just didn't.
Nope.
It just didn't.
Yeah, you can throw as much money as you want at somebody. If the culture is bad, you know, lipstick on a pig. Like, no matter how pretty the shade is, it's not going to make the pig not a pig. and 100%. And that, you know, I think I've shared this story with our viewers before of when we had, you know, I think it was last year, we had talked about like, should we be increasing the starting wage? Again, we had done that fairly recently after COVID. And we're like, well, let's ask the cleaners first. What do they want? Or would they like these other benefits, or, you know, kind of a list of things. And not a single one said, increase the wage. It was all these other things that they were talking about, or even like, you know, we've always done employee lunches with the managers, and the managers take them out to lunch and they spend time with them. And that's a very affordable thing to do, is just rotating through your cleaners, take them out to lunch and, you know, hang out with them, you know, having the team meetings, giving different types of gifts and gas cards and, you know, things that are kind of money adjacent, but really are more about appreciation. And honestly, that I think is one of the biggest things I will like scream from the rooftops is like crazy amounts of staff appreciation, both internally and externally. Because when I look at my staff members, 90% of them came from the healthcare industry. And that is where they got, literally and figuratively pooped on, and not appreciated, and terrible hours, always on their feet. And it was like they could never do enough. And so they can work their butts off. Anybody listening who's been in healthcare, I know how hard you can work. And it feels really good then to get some verbal affirmation and recognition for a job well done. And I'm just not a fan of the thought process of like, well, it's your job. You shouldn't get a pat on your back just because you did what you're expected to do. Like, yes, give them a pat on the back.
Yes. And the cool thing is how much more reward you will get. You will have more loyal employees. And I will tell you that because talk about loyalty. My longest cleaner before I sold, had been with me for 9 years. Everybody else, we're talking 6, 7, 8, 9 years. To this day, she still cleans for my mom. And my office manager and a cleaner, I sold now 8, 9 years ago. And to this day, they came along, and a cleaner. So three came along to my new businesses. And that's a good company culture. And to your point, Stephanie, we always think, okay, I want to do this for my cleaners. Let me add this benefit, or maybe I'll pay them more. But ask them. And if you haven't read the 4 Disciplines of Execution, it's an amazing book to help you, figure out what goals and changes for your company you do want, not based on what us as business owners would think that they want, but what they actually want. Because if we know what they want, then we know how to motivate them. And because they're getting what they want, they're going to be motivated to do all of the things that it's going to take for them to get to that goal or
Yeah. And it just like, your clients, like it really is how you act towards your clients. Or I think so much we think about like only focusing on that side, like the sales and the marketing and making sure our clients are happy. But having happy cleaners or having happy clients is a side effect of having happy cleaners. And you really just don't need to focus as heavily if you just internally focus of keeping your staff taken care of and satisfied. And all of these things to be said, that does not mean don't have incredibly high expectations and hold them to that. So like, don't think that I'm saying be easy on them. They will respect the fact when you hold them to the high standard, and tying that high standard to the purpose, and all of that, because I feel like if they're not willing to stick to the high standard and associate that with the purpose of the business, then they're probably not a good fit. So do you have any like stories that stand out to you of staff members who were like, it hit you across the face, like in maybe a moment's notice, like this is not a good fit, like, or perhaps a client? Well, I like to hear stories. So do you have a story for us, Maria?
Yes, for sure. I would love to give you, I can't think of one specific story because it just seems like, there's just so many, and we hire slow and fire fast. But I can tell you the type of cleaner that for us is absolutely not a good fit. So first and foremost, our training program is ridiculous. And we make it really hard on purpose. So just to give you a quick outline on that, day one, they're given a study guide. That study guide has blanks, like it might have multiple choice, but then it's fill in the blanks. And for the first week and a half, they are on a fact-finding mission to be able to they're on a fact-finding mission to be able to fill in the blanks to all of these questions. And then at the very end of their training, they take a 191 question test. That's not easy. It's not like true or false. It's, hey, if you leave a door ajar and a pet gets out of the house, escapes, tell me the 7 bad things that are going to happen if you leave a door open and a pet gets out. And it's all filled with blanks. Tell me the 9 steps it takes to just pre-clean a bathroom. It's intense.
Wow.
So for us, what is not a good fit is somebody that isn't willing to bend over backwards and do what it takes to become that high quality standard. And that's just the test portion of it. We have a field test and we had a secret shopper. So one of our clients was a secret shopper, and That was a whole thing for us. So not being able to just the simple train and provide the quality, not a good fit for us. Another not a good fit, I kind of expect all of my people to say yes. Like they are willing to do the things and be flexible. So flexible understanding is huge for us. So having somebody that is too rigid, not a good fit, and probably having somebody who isn't willing to listen well and understand and not be defensive when feedback is given. Not a good, I don't do the butting heads. I'm not to the us against you. And I will say, so my mindset has always been, we have our external clients, right? But we also have our internal clients, and our internal clients, that's our staff. So we treat them well. We already know they're going to get an amazing experience working for us, but they have to do their part as well. And we expect a lot from them. But the more that you expect, the more they step up, the happier they'll be, believe it or not. And the more they will want to work and not leave your company.
Yeah, that's, giving them something to strive towards. And, if the expectations are low, the ability to have pride in your work is really low as well, because it's like, well, what do I have? I have nothing to to own basically, or to point towards that. Like, look at this, look what I'm able to achieve. So having those high standards gives them something to, to hang their hat on, if you will. So during like that onboarding and the testing portion, like, wow, I have never heard of something so extensive. So did you I just imagine implementing that and people being like, see ya. So did that happen a lot? Like, what was that like? Really?
No, it didn't. And not only that, I didn't even mention. So the very first time they take the test, when they feel ready, about 2.5, 3 weeks of training in, they have to score a 60 or above. If they don't score a 60 or above, automatic termination. You've not been paying attention. Like, dude, you've been asleep basically. Yeah. So if you score a 60 or above, you have to make a 93 in order to actually pass the written. And again, 191 questions. So we're talking not multiple choice. We're talking fill in the blanks type of thing. So if assuming that they've made it, they've scored a 60 or above, then they have one other chance to take that test. And at that second chance, they have to score a 90 or above to pass. So we're strict. We're strict on purpose. But the flip side of that is everything I mentioned about just the amazing benefits. They feel proud of themselves, like I made it through that training, but also what it does for just the quality of our service. There was a reason that on Google we had 218 almost 5-star reviews. It's the proof is and yes, it took a while to implement that, but back to your point, it doesn't all have to be done overnight. It could be a simple, hey, at the end I want you to take a 20 question test, and then you get back to the systems, you grow, you evolve, things happen, which back to the systems and processes, putting it in that test, that's an amazing way for new people to kind of adapt to what's already in place and the systems and processes.
Yeah. And honestly, like for us in Serene Clean, like, we got killer quality. Literally, with that being said, literally this past year is when we finally actually dug into training and didn't just really when I started, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening can attest to this or relate. It was, oh, I hire a warm body and you watch me for a day and then to the wolves you go, and can you sink or swim? That was literally my training process, because I didn't have the ability to do anything more, because I'm like, I got cleanings to do, go deal with it. And obviously don't do that, guys, as much as you can possibly. Do not do what I just described wherever possible. But training it's freaking hard. It's hard to nail. It's very overwhelming, and it's incredibly expensive. So you just describing that process, my mind's just going cha-ching, cha-ching, affording to be able to do that. That's a lot of overhead associated with the training. And I know that scares people. But think of it this way. Would you not rather spend that money like for 2 weeks and figure out that this person's not good, or in 3 months they've destroyed your business's reputation and, made you lose other cleaners because they're so pissed off. So, like investing in your staff training is very important, and don't be afraid to do it. What do you think is typically, that's a very extensive training process you guys had. What would you say on average is a good amount of time for most cleaners to be prepared to be on their own?
So we always gave them a month.
Okay.
Like they were officially out of training in a month. I'd say by about a week and a half to 2 weeks, they should definitely be able to have the basics to where they're cleaning on their own. And we had probably no surprise to you based on what I just described with just the training to even be able to qualify to get out of the training status. All of our cleaning systems and processes were not easy. Not easy. And so I would say, about a week and a half to 2 weeks, they should be able to have what it takes naturally to just instinctively be able to clean a house. Even if they don't have all the, I'm going to pause on this.
Yep.
Even if they don't yet have all of the refined skills, like, for example, being able to know to get the baseboards behind the toilet. They may not have that, but they should have enough to be able to clean and have the home look good and professional and not get a complaint.
Absolutely. And it's just that instinct. And, a lot of times we typically aim to not hire people with cleaning experience. I know that some cleaning companies want somebody with experience, but we actively seek out those who have not professionally cleaned before, because the habits that they pick up or the lessons they learn at other cleaning companies are usually not up to snuff. And they often are very combative over those habits that they've picked up, meaning we try to teach them the Serene Clean way and they dig in their heels, or they just blatantly disregard and do things the way that they want to do them, which there's a reason we do things the way we do. We don't just do them for just because we want to. There is a reason always. And so it could be a safety thing. It could be a liability thing, et cetera, et cetera. So, I know I'm focusing a lot on employees, but obviously you have a knack for training them and having really great longevity and that loyalty. So that is something to be very impressive, because I would say turnover is going to be all of our listeners' biggest issue. I know a lot of you are struggling maybe to get leads right now, or to make the sales happen and all of that. And that's, something I've focused on in a lot of conversations so far. But honestly, like once you get that sales system down, I think most of us are going to struggle with getting staff. That's at least for sure been my experience. Would you say, has it been the opposite for you, Maria, or was it also staffing, like just keeping quality staff?
Yeah, so not so much keeping quality staff, because I have a little bit different mindset with quality. Back to what you were saying, and to make another point on that, is I want to teach my people how to think, like how to think my way when they're cleaning. Hence, hey, if you've had an experience in the past, sorry, I want somebody that has zero experience. Yep. I want to teach you how to clean. I want to teach you how to have an eye, and I want to teach you to think like I think. So to answer your question, I kind of have a different mindset in that if somebody has the basic qualities that I need and want, I can make them great. So I've never really thought of it as, oh gosh, my people, they just don't care about their job. I have none of that. It's, I'm going to make you great, or you just don't work for me. It's really simple. And that's it. It's super simple. We hire slow and we fire fast.
What does your vetting process look on the interview side then before you even do hire? So when you keep on saying hiring slow, and people are probably like, what does that mean? So can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So first and foremost, we hire for culture. And what that means is we hire for culture. Let me back that up. So what I mean is we hire for culture based on our core values. So if you don't have core values, get your core values. So our core values, there's a little acronym called PAID UC, and it stood for patience, accountability, integrity, dependability, understanding. And what that means is if I bring a problem to you, as opposed to getting defensive, I need you to understand what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. And the C, communication. So all of our interview questions, they were not okay, I'm just going to go to Chat GPT or go on a message board and say, hey, what are your favorite interview questions? We literally said, okay, we need to interview for our culture because our culture was number one. We need an interview for our core values. So then what we did is we took questions and we took questions that would seek out the qualities in our applicants to get us our core values. So that was challenging. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but highly recommend it. And what that does is then you've got, the same culture. Like you can look at all your employees and they all start thinking the same. They all behave the same. And I can give you a great example. So in my culture, I never once anywhere on paper did it ever say, and this actually always kind of tickled me, but it was the truth. Never did we ever have a rule, no cursing, ever. We just did it. But as a company culture, nobody cursed. And so what was interesting is because I'm talking 36 people that just didn't curse, which is...
Oh, you should come to a Serene Clean team. My managers are laughing right now as they listen. So.
Yeah, I know. My company's now, I should show you some of my screenshots just for today. I'm not even kidding. Somebody's like, what the fuck is up with that, Marie? Totally different culture. Yep. But what was really interesting is one day there was a working interview because we did do working interviews as well. And at the end of the day, they came back to the office and I asked the team lead and the team, hey, what did you think about him? We don't like him. And I'm like, why not? Because they cursed all day in the back seat. Their speech was riddled with curse words. And I'm like, that's company culture right there.
Yep.
So hire for core values, I would say is the number one word of advice there.
And they honestly, like what you just described is your team polices themselves. They tell on themselves. And it's like, if you've seen Full Metal Jacket where like they start beating the guy with the sock full of butter or whatever it is, extreme, but that's kind of what you want. It's like they're policing themselves because they're like, you don't fit this, you make us look bad. Because honestly, when somebody slips through the cracks of our hiring process and they make it, meaning that they've bamboozled us, they've charmed us, because that will happen, they've kissed our asses and made it through, and then when they get comfortable and get with that trainer, get with their coworkers, oh, do they stand out like a sore thumb. And we actually have a Google form that at the end of each training day, the trainee and the trainer fill it out so that we can see both of their experiences. And that we put that into place after a total nightmare situation where a lady slipped through the cracks. She actually made it to paying clients' houses, and that's when her true monster, horrific form showed. And we're like, holy crap. And then once we fired her, all of the cleaners that had worked with her were like, oh yeah, I thought she was just having a bad day, but I didn't want to say anything. Because in our culture, we don't tattle, we take accountability. But unfortunately that worked against us because they all thought that they were snitching and we ain't a bunch of snitches. So they thought that they were doing that, but it's like, no, that's the type of feedback. If we had known that 5 different people thought she was having a bad day because she was like a psycho to deal with, then she never would have gotten into paying customers' homes and businesses, and we wouldn't have had that damage control that we needed to do. So now, okay, what you just said of don't continue to have the same problem. Now we give them the space that to ask the questions of like, is there anything as managers you think we should know when it comes to attitude, behavior? How much did they want to jump in? Were they complaining? Were they talking about, like, that's another thing. Like if they tend to complain about life in general at job sites or anything like that, that stands out like a sore thumb, because in general, our staff just doesn't complain. Like they are very much of the attitude, or like I would describe overarchingly, it's like a can-do attitude, which sounds really cheesy, but it's like, we get in there and we get it done. Like that's That's very much part of our kind of unspoken culture. And you just see it in the ones who have been around the longest, is that they just tackle things. They tackle things and they don't complain about it, because, I mean, if you don't like cleaning, why the heck are you here, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you'd asked about the interview process. So in our working interview, the team or the team lead doing the working interview, they have a list of questions that throughout the day, the interviewee doesn't realize that this is happening, but they have a form, and some of the sample questions on there. How is their speed? Do they work? Are they excruciatingly slow? Do they work at a really fast pace, or are they quick? I want to know that. If they're too quick, I want to know that, because that might mean that they're just rushing and cutting corners. If they're quality, if they're excruciatingly slow, it's speed. It's probably not going to get any better. Like are they complaining? Are they talking about parting? Are they talking about injuries? So if in the working interview, if they just happen to say, yeah, my back always kills me, I have to take pain medication, that's all I need to know, that, because then we've got, okay, what's happening? Like, is this
Pre-existing condition? Yep.
Yeah, pre-existing condition. Do I need to worry that maybe they're going to, get into the medicine cabinet? I don't know.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, so we had a ton of questions on, hey, what are you seeing that, like you said, Stephanie, you're absolutely right. In a sit down face-to-face group interview, you can't get the person. You are literally looking at a mask. So you have to get a little bit creative to kind of dig down and find out, who is this person?
Yeah, you're really trying to get them to tell on themselves and show who they truly are. And they are not going to do that to a manager or to the boss. Like, they are going to be perfect little angels to all of us until once they feel more, comfortable. And actually, funny enough, I had gone up back to Wisconsin, I think it was last year, and I had been training a new staff member on a commercial account. For whatever reason, like, it just worked out that I was like, yeah, I'll go do it. It was an evening time. And so we spent several evenings together, and she was like, so how long have you worked here? And I was like, 5 years. And she's like, oh, okay. And like, then I don't know how it came out, but that I was the boss and the owner, and like her face just like went like white as a ghost. And she was super sweet and great and everything, but just that like, oh shit, this is the boss. Like they speak a lot more candidly, and I'm a very casual person, but like it's kind of fun. I like when that happens, when they don't even know, because they're acting as if you're just, a coworker, and people act very differently. Right. But
I have a teenager who says,
yeah,
oh, they go to factory default settings. That's it right there.
Yeah, that's so funny. And like, even just what you said of like the physicality of it, that has happened multiple times where, for whatever reason, we've been concerned about it. It is a physical job, guys. Any of you that are cleaning right now, like throw your hands up, because you know how hard this is physically. We all know how hard this is physically. And people who will be like adamant, like, oh, I've done physical labor jobs before, this is no big deal, I'm prepared for it. Like, gosh, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that, and then they quit a month later because it was too physical, I would have a lot of nickels. And like, I remember one lady, we gave her a chance. We were concerned about her ability to physically do the job, but she was adamant. And then she was off with her trainer, and like a couple weeks in, and there was a piece of paper on the ground, like an actual piece of paper. It wasn't like planted. It was just there, like crumpled up. And she walked past it, and her trainer was like, hey, like, you need to get that. And she's like, well, I can't bend over and get that. And we're like, what? You can't bend over? So obviously did not work out, but I'm just like, gosh, I wish we hadn't wasted, weeks of training this person. And I don't know if she just like was able to like muster the ability to like bend over during like more like formal training, and then it kind of came out. And so, yeah, if they are not willing or able to physically do the job, like, keep that in mind, guys. And like, I know it may feel like icky or that you're doing something wrong, but like, ask those questions and be specific in the job description, so that you're not like called out for or accused of discrimination or anything like that, you need to be very specific in that job description. So when somebody doesn't work out or you need to fire them, they cannot, come back and say, hey, you're discriminating against me or whatever. Like spell it out. Like you should be expected to, bend, lift up to 25 pounds, be on your knees and scrubbing things and on your feet for 8+ hours a day. Like you need to spell all of that out so that when they can't do that or they, have an issue, then you can point to that as a reason why you let them go and not have any issues with that or unemployment. So do you have any suggestions on that topic?
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that most people don't think about, back to your point, is make sure that they are not allergic to dust or pets, because a lot of times they'll think, oh, it's cleaning houses. I love cleaning. And then day one, they get in somebody's house. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, achoo, I can't do it.
Yep.
Well, that's a big old waste of time for everybody. So make sure that they know right off the gate, you're in people's homes. There will be dust. There will be pets. If you're allergic, taking an allergy pill and hoping that the issue will go away will probably not work. But these are
or if you hate children and are allergic to children, because we've had that too. We're like, oh, you don't like kids at all? Well, darn, you're going to be around them a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, unemployment. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about unemployment and what you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, unemployment, probably one of my favorite topics. Unemployment. So we want to, so it's an insurance, obviously. Everybody, it's your right. You're entitled to unemployment as a cleaner, right? As an employee. However, as the business owner, we don't necessarily want to pay out because it's just like insurance. You have a claim, you lose that claim. Guess what? You're going to pay more on your unemployment insurance for the next 3 years. So we want to keep our rates low. How do we do that? Great systems and processes, document everything. In fact, if you don't write it, if you don't have a signature on it, it never happened.
Correct.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do write-ups, because we actually never believed in write-ups, totally different topic, but things were still documented. Hey, so-and-so, this is your second complaint for the week. You're not in trouble. We need to fix it. This is not a formal write-up, but I'm going to type out everything we talked about, and I'm going to just have you read it, make sure that you agree with it, and sign it. So document. If you have an employee handbook, which you should, make sure that all of your, I call it like a totem pole of, consequences, if you will. Make sure that you follow those to the T. So for example, hey, you're going to get a write-up, maybe a coaching session first. Then you're going to get a write-up if it happens again. Then you're going to be suspended for 3 days. If it happens again, maybe then you get fired or a pay cut or whatever. So make sure that you get an employee who does something wrong, you don't automatically go to, that's it, I'm going to fire them. Yep. Maybe because they slept on the job or something like that, which is not in your employee handbook. So just make sure that you're following the line and make sure that they know that the offense that they're doing is a fireable offense. They have to know that the thing that they're doing is going to result in them being fired. And so that actually won us a case. So we have had 17 claims against our company. One of them we lost. We won all of the rest. One of them we lost, where we had to go into a courtroom in front of the judge with the employee. And it was really interesting because as the employee was talking, because I already knew all the rules and I had studied the cases, because you can study unemployment cases in your state, which is a fascinating topic because your state, at least the state of Texas did, it published past court cases. Hey, the company lost because they didn't do this. They didn't tell the employee that it was a fireable offense, or the employee won because whatever, it wasn't their fault, right? And so studying those court cases is super interesting. But in this particular case, the judge did ask the person, hey, so the last time that you were late for like the 6th time, the last piece of paper said that, hey, you're 5 minutes late again, like that's it, you're done. the judge had asked this particular employee, did you know that you'd be fired? And the employee said, well, I did, but there was traffic, and then I was late. I was like, we just won the case, and I knew we won the case.
Yep.
Yes.
It's about them knowing and signing to things and everything. And like for us, our onboarding process with paperwork is like jaw dropping. I know that a lot of people have never signed so many documents, but it is truly to cover our ass and make sure they know what they're going to be held accountable to. So it doesn't have to be seen as this bad thing when it comes to like you're trying to screw the person over. You're trying to be clear. You're trying to be clear, and being clear is being kind. And so truly you are making sure that this is an agreeable workplace for everybody and that they know exactly what the expectation is so that they can nail it. So I know that is one of my biggest pieces of advice for every owner I talk to, all of our listeners. Please, please, please get some documentation in place that you have them sign upon hiring. Or if you put a new policy in place, have them re-sign it, have the new one sign it. Like you have to have them do it. Otherwise, you have not a leg to stand on. And yes, I have had many, many, many people try to get unemployment off of me. And it is like it's not just the like money side of it for me. It is, I take it very righteously of like, you're wrong and you aren't getting this from me. So yeah, we definitely, it feels like a battle a little bit and a point of like, maybe stubbornness on my part, but I just don't think people should get away with something that is clearly they're wrong. They shouldn't get away with it. And it's our job to like, hold them accountable and also not allow basically unemployment fraud, because that's what it is.
Right. Yeah. Your job is to protect your business, and having frivolous unemployment claims being approved, that's not being a good steward of taking care of your business financially.
Yeah, absolutely. And always, no matter what, guys, you can always consult a lawyer, search online for your state's laws. At least in Wisconsin, it's an at-will state. I would imagine Texas is too. Obviously, it's Texas. But depending what country you guys are listening to, because I've talked to many people, we've had guests from Australia. We have listeners in, the UK, like laws very, very drastically compared to America when it comes to like employee rights. So take all of that, what we're saying, as the overarchingly, you need to know this, and ignorance is not an excuse. All right. And one mistake will oftentimes be painful enough for you to get your ass in gear on this type of stuff. Don't let it happen again. Like just like Maria mentioned earlier, of like, pay attention and don't allow things to keep happening to you. That's insanity, the definition of insanity. So, some great examples is having an employee handbook that they have to read and acknowledge, a code of conduct. This could be dress code, attendance policy, quality standards, and spelling out what does that look like. For us, we have in our quality standard stipulation that they sign off to, because I was sick of people having quality issues that I had to refund and then send somebody or send somebody back and redo the work. And all these people get is basically, a slap on the wrist, but it's not hurting them financially. I was sick of it because it hurts us in so many ways when we have these quality issues, and nobody gets hurt except Stephanie. And so what we put into place is that for whatever amount of time it takes to redo that work and bring it up to standard. So say Sally gets a complaint, we have to send Susie for an hour to fix Sally's screw ups, then Susie gets docked to minimum wage for that hour, and we have them sign and agree to it. So minimum wage in Wisconsin is still $7.25. So when they're dropping from whatever they're at, 20 an hour ish to $7.25, all of a sudden, that hurts them. And then, they take a lot more accountability for it. And I could never legally do that unless they agree to it and sign to it. And again, this is not advice. This is just what's in Wisconsin we are allowed to do. So keep that in mind, guys. But that's a perfect example of like, they agreed to it. You can hold them accountable to things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We had something super similar.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for this jet. Can you hear that jet?
Yeah, it's really loud, actually.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It's really, really, really loud.
Okay, we'll hold off on that. So that hopefully I'll speak in between jets going by. But
It's okay. Suddenly I got allergies, so I'll like cough.
Oh, you're
out.
good. You're good.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So kind of switching gears, I'd love to hear more about the VA side of things and how you kind of stumbled into that and transitioned into owning Taskaway and just talking about that in general. Would love to hear about that and explaining to our listeners why a VA may be a good option for them.
For sure. So I think my first experience with VAs was when I had my cleaning service in Austin, because we had two VAs that worked from home. And so we had two office managers, but if they ever couldn't answer the phone, then it would ring to one of the two VAs, because my goal was that we answer our phones 100% of the time without exception. That's what I was going for. So I wanted to make it happen. After I moved overseas, it was as simple as, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've worked all these years. I've worked so hard. Now I'm in a new country and I don't want to work anymore. I just want to enjoy life. Yeah, that lasted for 6 months. My apartment was constantly clean. There was like, you couldn't eat off my floors. There was nothing to clean. I was bored. And I remember one day, like crying. It was a Saturday and I cried and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what have I done? I've made a huge mistake in selling my cleaning service that it felt at the time like that was my identity. And what now? And I remember crying about it on a Saturday. And that very night, I got an out of the blue phone call, and somebody actually said, "Hey, Maria, we watch you on Facebook. We know you have a ton of time on your hands. We know you know what you're doing with the cleaning business. We need a VA. Do you want to be our VA?" And it was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's nothing that I would have ever thought of. So that was great. And I remember telling this gentleman, he was an acquaintance. I didn't know him very well, but I'm like, I literally was crying about this morning, so you're not going to hear it in my voice, but I am so excited and I'm going to do an amazing job for you.
It was meant to be another one of those meant to be things.
Those meant to be things. Yeah. And so honestly, it just kind of grew from there. Taskaway is something that's super special to me because we get to help almost 80 clients now. We've got well over 50 something VAs that literally dedicate themselves to helping maid service owners grow and get out of the field and write the SOPs and answer the sales calls and book clients. And so it's something that's super near and dear to me. I love what I do. I'm very honored to get to do what I do because it feels like at the end of the day, it feels like we're actually helping business owners not only grow, but also maintain that work-life balance. There's nothing like, oh my gosh, I went on vacation for a week. I never had to think about my phones. I never had to worry about if complaints were coming in and how they were being handled. I got to rest. I got to relax. The business was not only there when they came back, but it was even better than how they left it. And that work-life balance is something that I did not have when I was first growing my company. There were lots and lots of crying in empty parking lots.
Same.
Hard. It was just so hard. When you're in growth mode and making that transition. And so that's what we dedicate ourselves to, is helping companies, maid service owners grow.
Yeah. And I just love when I speak to business owners who serve who their former self was, because I just feel like the pain so well, so you know how to fix it. And that's why whenever I am looking at introducing a new software or whatever, I do like to know the origin story, because it's do you know my pain? Do you know who you're serving? And obviously, you and I both are hardcore Zen made for life hashtag. And, there's a reason for that, because it's made by cleaning company owners and it's heavily influenced by cleaning company owners, including yours truly and Maria, because we get to have that influence and saying hey, this is what we need. And it feels really good. Even the SOS button of you were there when that topic came up in Amsterdam in July. And then lo and behold, it's now January of 2025. And now we have this incredible feature that like focuses heavily on the safety of our staff members. So yeah, it just like to have companies that actually listen and care about who they're serving. And so keep that in mind, guys, when you are looking at different softwares or companies. There's a lot of VA companies out there, and there's a lot of great ones for sure. It is great to have ones who are specified to our industry. So is there anything specific that you teach your VAs, or when it comes to the cleaning industry in general, or if somebody is looking for a VA for their cleaning company, what would you suggest for them to look for? Even if it's not your company that they're looking at, what should they be looking for when seeking out a VA? Because it's a nerve-wracking experience.
It is a nerve-wracking experience, yeah. So when you think about the characteristics that we have in our industry, like how we talk, we're not overly corporate, right? Mm-hmm. Most cleaning companies they're laid back, professional, absolutely, right? So
very family and cozy. And again, it's a women-led industry too. So I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Exactly. So I think you want to look for somebody first and foremost that isn't that executive type. You want to look for somebody who is kind of like you are, like how I am, just laid back. We can relate to the clients. Mm-hmm. We can empathize with our clients, and all of those traits then also leads to sales. And so I can make you laugh. You can make me laugh. That will lead to having as a good foundation for sales. Can the person listen well? Can they have the foresight? I mean, you obviously want them to have good spelling, grammar. That's top. That's key. But you also want them to be able to creative think, because Stephanie, as you know, running a maid service, things are not black and white. Things are very, okay, what do we do in this moment?
Yes.
I feel like our maid services kind of live in that gray area where we have to really think and be creative on how to solve the different unique challenges that we have, because they're not always the same. So somebody that can have that foresight and thinking ahead is really, really important. And then obviously somebody that knows the industry, again, communicate well and be able to compose emails, for example, that communicate effectively to the client. So an example of that is you're going back and forth, we're 10, 12 emails in with the client on rescheduling, and there's been different, but the next one is going to be a deep clean, and then 3 weeks after that, it's going to be a regular clean, but can you only do the downstairs? And you're just kind of going back and forth. And so you want somebody that'll say, okay, so to recap, I have you on the schedule for next Wednesday, January 29th, with an arrival time of XYZ. We will be doing XYZ. We'll be focusing on these things. Your next cleaning after that is so somebody that just has the skills and ability and even foresight to be able to effectively communicate is going to be really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just what you just described is like, the perfect office or administrative staff of just being able to succinctly wrap up everything in a pretty bow and make sure there's no loose ends. Because when it comes to even scheduling appointments, like there is so much that goes into that, making sure the notes are updated, making sure, if you have ICs, like everybody's communicated to or whatever. And obviously having like ZenMaid is great and it does a lot of that stuff, but there still is a ton of manual labor when it comes to like the entire process or the onboarding process of a new client. If you are having this person do that stuff, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting a new client. It's not just, okay, they book and then we show up. Like there's so many things. So you got to make sure that they are good at crossing their T's and dotting their I's and are quite meticulous, because I know for myself, I'm a big picture person, where you've described yourself, Maria, as you are really good in the fine minutia details. Like I'm much more like, woo, like it's all good. Like we're just, this is what we're doing. And so when I look at like my administrative staff, they have to be the complete opposite of me, because otherwise problems are going to arise. And even like I got an executive assistant, a virtual one, about 6 months ago, and it's changed my life because boy, is she meticulous and just, I honestly loathe doing all of that stuff and all of the details because it takes me away from what I'm really good at. And it's not to say one is better than the other, but, play to your strengths, guys, and delegate what you hate. All with the caveat of you still need to know how to do it so that you can audit and make sure, nobody's embezzling from you or whatnot or stealing all of your clients. like you need to make sure, not suggesting Maria would do such a thing, but like just saying any office staff, any VA from anywhere, like this does not take away your responsibility as the ultimate, person who's in charge, and you need to know how to do these things. It's like bookkeeping. I know a lot of you guys hate bookkeeping and it sucks and all of that, but if you have absolutely no idea what the heck's going on financially or day to day, you're going to get burned in some flavor. I promise you that. So you still need to know how to do that, even if you delegate. I could do every role in my business. Even if I am rusty, I still could check in on it. So keep that in mind, guys. And it's just a good practice overall, not just for a VA, but an office person in general.
Accountability. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And accountability, even to be able to look in at any role in your company and say, hey, you know what? I noticed that you did a really good job, the reconciling, back to your example of accounting. Hey, you know what? It's really cool to look in on the 29th, and it's not even the end of the month and you have everything reconciled. Amazing. Good job. I'm so happy. That is a form of accountability. You just told them, I'm watching.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good point. It's it's very subtle of good job of that you're checking that, or even asking questions yeah, I am checking in on those things. And my manager, April, she does all of the credit card, payments and documenting all of that. And so it's me asking about what is this charge? It's telling her, hey, I'm looking at this. Not that I'm worried about April. I love you, April. You're great, but because I know that they listen to this in the office. So it's more about just you need to have a finger on the pulse, even if you are in another country. Most likely it's going to be a long time before you are just able to say sayonara to all of this checking in. And honestly, I don't know if unless you're going to sell the business, I just don't foresee that ever happening. I certainly wouldn't.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I do it. I like doing it.
Yes, me too. It's very soothing. Just like when I'm updating my tracking sheets and my key performance indicators and looking all of that, it's a soothing, because I am across the country from my business. Just you're in Spain, right, Maria?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's you are literally completely remote from all of your VAs. And so it's you need to hold them accountable. And so, accountability is truly one of the biggest parts, I think, of a successful business, both from holding yourself accountable and holding your cleaners or office staff accountable as well, and holding your clients accountable. Side note, little story time today. Yesterday we got an email. I had shared a couple weeks ago that we had gotten 3 commercial accounts that said yes to our bids. And so it's part of our practice, of course, is that they must sign their contract with us. And that's going over all of our, payment expectations and behavior and all of that good stuff. And they can cancel at any time. So when I say contract, we do not lock people into contracts. However, it's just basically the agreement of this is how we are going to behave, et cetera, et cetera. Anywho, we get an email saying, okay, here is our version of the contract. All good, and we'll get this signed. And we look, and they had adjusted our non-solicitation of staff clause, which is a $1,500 training fee. If they steal basically our staff member, we are able to charge that to them. They had changed it to $500. And that was weird. And so we emailed back and we're like, no, everything's good, but change back our non-solicitation clause to $1,500. That's the fee. And their response was, well, we don't want your cleaners or employees. We just want you to clean. And my management team says we cannot sign this agreement if that clause is in there at all, but we're not going to steal your employees. Please advise. And we're like, that's pretty sus. Why would you say you're not going to try to steal my employees, but you're not going to sign a non-solicitation. Why would you say that? And so that was a $2,000 account that just happened like 4 hours ago that we stood our ground. We dug our heels and said, no, you will sign this or we're not working together, because why the heck would you specify that you're like, that you won't, like, it's so weird to us. And we're like, this doesn't make any sense. And so we're like, no, this is our policy for all clients. And we're not going to make an exception. Like, why would we do this? So, random side note, it just came to my mind because it just happened today of like, standing your ground and basically the accountability thing triggered of like, we are holding that client accountable, or that potential client no more. They're not going to be our client. We just said no to $2,000 because we would not, move back on this. And honestly, for somebody to try to pressure us on that or try to see where that line is, it was just so, all of our guts were just screaming, this is not right, because why would they ask for that? We've never had a commercial account ever say they won't agree to that. It was really weird. So it's like, yeah, like, we're not doing it.
It's almost like they were protecting their butts in case one day, you know what? I think I feel like stealing a cleaner.
Yeah, it was very weird. It's like, oh, so you're not going to do this, but you won't sign it. Like, why would you say that? Yeah, really weird. But honestly, it works out because the schedule is going to be much more fabulous without them. But yes, it's just saying no to the wrong opportunities, and clearly that's the wrong opportunity. And former Stephanie, younger Stephanie in my business, absolutely would have bent there and allowed that to happen, and I would have been kicking myself 6 months down the road. So I am sharing this with you guys. Please, please, please dig your heels in on things that are important. Don't bend to the client's will when you know that it's not what you want. And I know that's hard to say no to money, but it's going to hurt you. I guarantee it's going to hurt later. And I'm sure you've got plenty of examples of that, Maria, of like clients hurting, or employees too, when you bend and allow yourself to be influenced because you feel bad or you want to make the sale, so you go against your better judgment and you get your ass handed to you, basically.
It's true. It's like then you have nobody but to blame but yourself, and you're like, dang it, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm. And I have so many instances of like I'm so glad that at this point, my managers are very strong in that of like sticking to the bound, because it's just sticking to guns, sticking to boundaries. And if I'm ever being weak in that point, because at the end of the day, Stephanie, Miss People Pleaser Pipkin, wants to get a sale and wants to make the client happy. And so they're a really good reminder as to, no, we don't do this. This doesn't make sense. This is not our ideal client if they're asking us to do this. And taking clients on that only makes sense is truly like our vision for 2025. So what does that look like for you, Maria? What's 2025 look like for you? What are the goals?
Ooh, 2025. Let me think. Mm-hmm. Well, for the maid service, for sure. Right now we're sitting at 33 clients. Mm-hmm. So by the end of the year, we definitely want to see that grow to well over 100. Mm-hmm. That's how
the caveat, guys, new maid service that Maria has. Yes. Not the one she sold.
No, not the one we sold. Yeah. So we actually run a remote, 100% remote from a different country, y'all. Just the power of VAs. We have VAs that are running a maid service in a completely different country, doing it quite beautifully. We love them. And so our goal for that one is to grow to 100 clients, which is super exciting and super special. On the Taskaway side, dang it, we haven't done our 2025 goals.
That's okay.
The Taskaway side, I'll just leave it.
Yep.
No, I don't know. Okay, let me answer on the Taskaway side, because I do have an. It's just we haven't done our 2025 goals.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the Taskaway side, so we are known for having our VAs be able to book and convert sales. That is what we're known for in our industry. Because I have a third business called Listening Sells, we teach all sales, everything, and we do coaching, and that's my jam. So this year, we really want to really focus on that training and that documentation and the systems and the processes for all of our VAs, to be even stronger salespeople in 2025.
Ooh, gosh, okay. Well, next time we talk, Maria, I want to know all about this sales stuff because clearly you are an expert at sales and we've focused really heavily on internal things. So next convo, put a pin in it and we're going to talk about sales and then also running remotely because clearly you know what you're talking about. So guys, please go follow Maria. Maria, where can they find you? Where can they find just you in general, but also your businesses?
Yeah, so Taskaway VA, it's TASKAWAYVA.com. Easiest way to find me, shoot me a message. If I've said anything on this call, on this podcast, where you're like, I want more information, or I want more examples of, for example, the core values and how to shape those interview questions, anything and everything, just shoot me an email. I'm literally always happy to help.
Awesome. Well, guys, definitely go follow her. We'll link all of her information in the show notes or in the YouTube notes. And thank you for your time, Maria. Guys, definitely hit that subscribe. And I will have her back, of course, because I love chit-chatting with her. And we will see you in the next episode of Filthy Rich Cleaners. Bye, guys.